All right, guys. My video I put out last night got. No, it didn't get thousands or hundreds of thousands or nothing, folks. But I get thousands of videos on shorts. I never get any. YouTube does not allow me to get more than about 30 to 50 views on a video. They won't allow it. My last look, uh, they were saying that I had like 70 views on this one video. It hadn't even been 24 hours. Hadn't even been 24 hours. When I got up this morning, it was like 38. I was topped out after about 6 hours. Now, that video, before I have been praying about how I could stop this. And I always get an answer, folks. I always get an answer. This ain't my thinking, my doing. And I was told, talk to Owen. Now, the problem is, I get a direction. And then I personally have to deal with it. Well, I don't necessarily. I've watched it again, and there was a lot of stuff I shouldn't have said. And I prayed about that this morning hard and not long, but I did pray about it. I just prayed about it again before I made this video. And I'm asking God, what else can I do? There's a lot of things I shouldn't have said. What can I do? What's the next thing I could say to maybe make a point? I'm trying to help. Holy Spirit keeps telling me, talk about yourself. Talk about yourself. Well, folks, let me tell you something. Most of the things I remember from way back aren't good. You see, all the fun, all the good things that happen aren't there. That's old man shit. But from the first time I lied, first time I started doing evil crap, I don't even know how old that was. Those memories never fade. Make no mistake about that, folks. And if any of you get lucky enough to live to be my age or older, these people that I was watching something today that these people, some of them are actors and stuff that are in their 90s and 100. A couple of them are in they're 101, 102. I can't imagine what memories they had. I'm trying to warn you, you young folks. I'm trying to give you a warning right now. If this world continues to where you're my age, you don't want to have this. So the story I come up with after the Holy Spirit and God is telling me to talk about me. The closest one I can come up with is what happened here in Boardman Township, Ohio. When I got here 4 or 5 years ago. Now, about 3 years ago, when and it was right when all this operation, you know what, I ain't even going to bring up the name in this video, folks. This is when it first got started. Out of his mind to wine, put out a medical mask mandate, but had put out a mask mandate, but in it had medical exemptions. Well, he told all the doctors and nurses and everybody that worked in the hospitals and anybody that had anything to do with the healthcare system, out of his mind to wine, told them, if you give anybody an exemption not to wear a mask, you will lose your licensing to be a doctor, a nurse, or whatever you are. Don't believe me? I don't care. I proved it. I proved it, folks, in this town. I went to everybody when this out of his mind to wine mask mandate came down. I went to the sheriff. First, I went to his office. He refused to talk to me. I went to the Attorney General's office of the Ohio. They refused to talk to me. I went to the head of the health organization in Ohio. They refused to talk to me. I ended up calling the Department of Justice before this was all over with. To start off with, I gotta tell you, I don't know how many of you people know anything about me. I was born with Wolff-Parkinson's White syndrome, which is a heart problem. I've been through 3 heart surgeries. I had to file bankruptcy on $150,000 worth of medical bills that were actually in the millions by the time they got done doing the 3 heart surgeries. And they still didn't fix it. On top of that, I was born with a hereditary COPD, asthma, if I'm not mistaken, even emphysema. When I was born, 3 years ago, when all this stuff started, I had just been told about a year and a half before that I only had 30 to 45% lung capacity. People, they put me in this. My wife actually worked for my lung doctor. And because she worked for them, I had free access to any of those doctors for anything. Oh, yeah. And this was a pulmonary doctor's office, a lung doctor. And there was at that time, I think there was about 7 of the top ones in this area were in that office. And they had all the top equipment. I'm in this machine, and I'm not laying down, folks. They put me inside this tank. I sit down, and it's a real tight tank. The doors end up coming around like this and closing and sealing. Now, before they do that, they bring this thing around, and I have to put it in my mouth for breathing. They pressurize this tank. and start controlling my lungs themselves. They knew how much capacity I had in my lungs. They told me I had 30 to 45%. My heart problem now, if I didn't get enough oxygen into my lungs, it throws me into a heart attack. With Wolff Parkinson's White syndrome, people, I've had 100 heart attacks within 5 hours. They've had to stop my heart twice with the defibrillators and restart my heart because it was beating at 256 beats per minute. The second time they blistered me because they couldn't get my heart to restart. And they blistered my chest and my side where they kept ba-boom hitting me with that power. Crank it up even more. Ba-boom and hitting me again. I'm telling you this, and I don't even know why now. I went ba-boom and lost my entire thought. Oh man, shit. I'm telling you guys, you're going to be there one day. But God told me to go talk about me, so I'm going to take it up to where I wanted to go with this. That was what it was. I was explaining to you about my lung and heart problems from birth. By this time, 3 years ago, I was told 30 to 45% lung capacity. And they were demanding that I put a mask over my face and my mouth to breathe through, folks. They claimed there was a medical exemption. They never gave one. There was an officer that was working security at a grocery store. He had been hearing about me because I had been in the Boardman Township Police Department. I had been making videos for about 2 years by this point. He had been hearing about Watachi running free, and I kept telling him, I don't care if the president says I have to wear a mask. I'm not going to wear it. And no matter what laws they pass, I'm not going to wear one. I can't. My own heart doctor, they had me on medication. They told me I would die if I didn't take it to keep my heart in check, because after 3 heart surgeries, they couldn't fix it. Well, they couldn't fix it because God made it, and he made it the way it is for a reason. That's why they couldn't fix it. My heart doctor was the first one that told me about the medical exemption. And if any of the doctors was to give an exemption or allow somebody in their doctor's office without a mask, no matter what reason, that they would lose their licensing. My heart doctor straight up told me that. Now, after about a year of me fighting all this shit, this heart doctor told me she wouldn't even refill my prescriptions unless I come in her office with a mask on. That was over 2 years ago, folks, and I've never put a mask on my face. Does that tell you anything? Anything? For 20 years, these doctors, after 3 heart surgeries, told me if I didn't take that pill, I would die. 2 years, over 2 years now, I'm still Watachi, and I'm still running free. I'm trying to get to the main point here. In this town, for about a year and a half to 2 years, I've been videotaping every cop that I could. Record them. They didn't know if I was recording them or not till the video came out. I was hiding my cameras. I had cameras hidden everywhere. So they didn't know what to say, when to say it, or how to say it, because they didn't know if they was going to be on video. But I did tell them, if for sure, if I wanted them to talk to me, I'd tell them up front, I don't have any cameras on. And I always kept my word to that, folks. I never, when I told them I didn't have cameras on, I did not have any cameras on. So I kept to my word. Well, after there was at least a year that Watachi Running Free was being brought up in the police department around here. Every time they had a meeting, Watachi Running Free was being talked about. They were trying to identify me other than Watachi Running Free, and they couldn't do it. The vehicles I were driving was not in my name. My Jeep was in the garage, in the barn out here. They didn't even know I owned it. They didn't even know I had a Jeep until a certain point. Well, this one officer, he had 18 years on the force. He's getting ready to retire in a couple of years. Had nothing really been involved in anything. And he was working. Or no, he heard that Watachi was going in and out of this grocery store where they worked security at. Never saw this cop working in that store for a year and a half, almost 2 years before this night. He asked to be put in there. He wanted to run into me. And when he did, I didn't have a mask on. I already had permission from the store to be in there without a mask on. He didn't care. He wanted to be the one to force a mask on Watachi. Didn't happen. But he ended up, and I'm not even going to give you his name because I have no hard feelings for this man. But he ended up charging me with fleeing from him and driving without a license, which I was doing Uber and Lyft at the time. If I didn't have a driver's license, folks, do you think Uber and Lyft would let me drive for them? If I didn't have a legal driver's license, come on. Those are the charges he's filed on me. And in this town, those charges stuck. Fleeing an officer got me a year in prison. Driving without a driver's license got me another year. 2 years. That went all the way through the courthouse because I had done talked about the sheriff, the police department, everybody in the police department, the courthouse, the judge. I've done talked about all of them. The public prosecutor, all of them. I talked about them all. And I was prosecuted. No matter what, the arresting officer was one of my witnesses. Claimed I had a driver's license. That's why he refused to write the ticket. But the tickets went through. Now, Watachi got 2 years. But because I had no criminal background that they could come up with, and the funniest thing is when they finally got my Social Security number and ran my background, they came up with it was at that time 300 pages of shit. The worst they had on it was a DUI from 1998 that I told the cop I got out of the car when he pulled me over. He was going to tell me turn my headlights on. I got out of the car, turned, locked it up, walked back, had my hands out in front of me, said, "Yeah, let's go." He's going, "What?" Well, I'm drunk as fuck. Let's go. Get this over with. I'll call my wife and have her come bomb me out. He's going, "Buddy, all I'm going to do is tell you, turn your headlights on." I'm going, "Well, what are we going to do now?" Never went to jail, but I did get the DUI. He goes, he ended up, once I got done with him, he goes, "You said you could get your wife to come get you?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "If you'll call her, I ain't even going to take you to jail." And I said, "You're not even going to take me to jail?" And he goes, "No." He goes, "Hell, I only take the guys that fight me to jail." He goes, "Hell, you claimed it right out of the gate." So, this officer that brought these false charges on me, that stood all the way, oh, man, as we're going through trial and stuff, folks, I'm doing videos, and my video, at that time, I had a pretty big channel, and the entire police department, sheriff's department, mayor, everybody was watching my shit around here. And, they, like I said, they were talking about me all the time, and all the cops. I can't remember where I was going again. See, I shook my head a couple times. Now I don't even remember where I was at. That's that old man shit, man. You guys, you got this coming. Get back on track here and see where I was at. This cop, this officer that brought up these false charges on me. Well, he held to it. It went to court. I lost, got 2 years. At 1 year actually on probation. The prosecutor now, I got to go back. The first day in court, they couldn't get me to plea with them because I'm trying to tell them, "You're going to have to show me your jurisdiction." Well, they didn't want to do that, so they couldn't get me to plea bargain with, or to plead guilty, not guilty, or no contest. I didn't plead anything. The judge made the decision himself. "I'm going to plead not guilty for you, and we're going to move it to this date for the trial." I said, "All right. I got a question, Your Honor. Isn't it illegal for a judge to give legal advice or to make any decisions for anybody from the bench? Isn't that called obstruction of justice?" "Well, you can call it whatever you want. You can file whatever you want." And I said, "All right." Next day, when they were setting it up for the trial, he asked me, "Do you need an attorney?" I go, "No." I said, "Jesus is my lawyer." This judge looked at me. Okay. That was the way I kept it all the way through the trial, folks. And there was a time he started making claims, and I was telling him, I can't do none of that. That goes against my religion. I can't." And he looked at me and said, "I don't care what your religion is." Well, the first prosecutor they sicked on me, he didn't want nothing to do with it. Once me and him had a conversation, and I was telling him what this was all about, he backed the hell out of it. So they got this prosecutor I called Demon Chans, I think, or something. I made up names for these cops. And the prosecutor, the judge, I had named Demon Chans or something, because he was a big old fat guy and had about 40 chins under him and shit. And he was about as evil as you could be. Demon 40 chins. That's what I called him, 40 chins. Demon 40 chance. And I looked at him first time we had a conversation. I looked at him and he was trying to figure out where I was coming from. And I looked at him and we're sitting in his office. There's about 5 lawyers and 2 or 3 state troopers and a couple of cops. And he's trying to deal with me. And I looked at him. I stood straight up. And I looked at him and I said, I don't make no deals with the devil or the devil's herd. And I walked out of his office. These people didn't know how to take me. I'm going to move fast because I'm already 25 minutes in. I ain't close. But that officer that caused all this brought the false charges up on me. He was made a laughingstock pretty much. And he didn't get to come out of that police station for 2 years. All he could do was type up accident reports. The prosecutor was fired. The prosecutor was fired and could never be a prosecutor in Ohio again after mine. It wasn't my trial that did it. It was another trial that he was caught on. This officer, he hadn't been allowed out really to do. I've been looking for him because I wanted to talk to him. Ever since all this shit happened, he claimed to be a Christian. And I couldn't believe he was bringing these lies up on me. And I even talked to him about it once before the trial was over. I had him caught in so many lies it wasn't even funny, with videos. But after 2 years, I see his car out on the street. And I'm wondering if he's in it or somebody else because he retired. He only had a couple years left. And he when I pulled up next to him, I was in my Jeep. He'd never seen my Jeep before. He always seen my wife's car, my Ford Escape. So when I pulled up next to him, he didn't realize who it was until he looked up. I rolled the window down and he saw the hat. I wasn't even for sure if it was him because I hadn't seen him for 2 years. I look at him, call him by name. He goes, yeah. I go, you remember me? And he goes, of course. I said, man, I just want you to know I have no hard feelings towards you, man. I love you, and I hope God blesses you in some way. And he's looking at me. He don't know, because once he realizes it's Watachi, and I'm sitting right next to him, he ain't seen me in 2 years. I could see it in his eyes. He was like, what's getting ready to happen, you know? And he looked at me and said the same thing. He goes, you know what, I hope so with you too. I said, it's good to see you back out here. And I said, but I do want you to know there's no hard feelings. And I hope God can bless you. And he goes, hey, right back at you, Brian. And I drove away. I don't hold no hard feelings towards anybody no more. But I don't really have a choice of who's in my life. If you don't believe that, folks, I don't talk to anybody that were some of my closest blood family. My mom and dad, once my dad died, they never let me see my mother again alive. The family that took all the money and everything. They never let me talk to my mother. She lived another 6 months and she died. Never got to, I don't know where, I think they're in jars sitting on my family member's mantle somewhere so nobody can ever go visit them but her. I don't hold grudges. I pray for those people. I hope to help them. Just like this officer. Just like another officer that he was one of my, I got a video I just put out about him not too long. I hope to help him. I don't hope to cause him any harm. And today in this town, these officers all have body cameras. And that was one of the things I told them when I first got here. I said, "You guys don't have no body cameras and nothing?" "Oh, no, we can't afford them." Now they got body cameras, and they got 2 360-degree cameras in their cars. 360 degrees. One up in the front to see out the front, and one in the back, see out the back. 360 degrees. They can see everything you're doing in that car while you're in it as a police officer. These guys, and I told them, that was one of the things I told them. I said, I'm going to see to it that you guys get some cameras on you. And they got so many cameras on them today, folks, they can't get away from them. Then I could put my cameras up, but who's taking care of their video? That's the thing. But these things changed around here, and they might go back to, once I'm dead and gone, they might go back to the way it was. There's a few videos I got that would stand up in court that would probably get me a lot of money. I don't have no intentions of taking any money from the citizens of this town. Even though they elect these people, they allow them to be hired. They elected out of his mind to wine and all that. I don't intend to take money from taxpayers. If they would let me sue the police department, the sheriff's department, the governor, the township people, and go against their retirement, I'd sue them in a minute. No doubt. But I'm not going to make the citizens pay for what the officials did. That ain't right either. God loves you. I love you. Sometimes all you got to do is ask, and you can fix shit. Sometimes you let it go too far, and then it can never be fixed. I'm taught, fix it. Don't let it go too far to where it can't be fixed. That's what I'm taught. So, like I said, God loves you guys. I love you. And Jesus couldn't love you any more than what he's done for you. But that's the one you need. I'm not him. I'm not a preacher or a teacher. I point the direction, where to go. And if need be, I can act as a sheepdog. Love you guys. Till the next one.